And let's now talk about the Mideast turmoil with Fuad Ajami, senior fellow at the Hoover Institution at Stanford. He's joining us from New York. And from Los Angeles, David Keyes. He's the executive director of the organization Advancing Human Rights. He's also a contributor to the Daily Beast. So as we watch this chaos unfold on screen, David, looking specifically at Egypt, is there anything that the U.S. can do to exert influence on the situation?
I think there's an enormous amount the United States can do. It has to stay true to its principles. Going back decades, the United States has supported some dictators throughout the Middle East, whether it's in Egypt or Saudi Arabia. The most important thing for the United States to do is uphold maximum pressure on the Egyptian government to uphold civil liberties, to increase space for freedom of expression, freedom of press. It's not just the Muslim Brotherhood, which has been decimated in this latest crackdown. It's also liberal activists like Ahmed Maher from the April 6th movement and Ahmed Douma, young bloggers. It starts out with the radicals, but I think that this is the same Egyptian military which had an iron fist clamping down on civil society and democracy going back decades. So the United States should link foreign aid to human rights, and it should stay true to that great principle of Andrei Sakharov that we should trust states as much as they trust their own people. And by that standard, the Egyptian government cannot be trusted. It is reverting back to the same military dictatorship. So again, the United States should stay true to its principles, not the person who happens to be in power.
And how much leverage does the U.S. have when it comes to aid?
I think it has a lot of leverage, not just in its aid, but also rhetorically and morally. I think a lot of people in the Middle East look to the United States for leadership. I've spent the last many years working with democratic dissidents in the Middle East, and many people are disappointed. They look at historical appeasement of Bashar al-Assad. They look at upholding this theocratic gender apartheid tyranny in Saudi Arabia. They look at $50 billion of aid sent to Hosni Mubarak, and they are pleading with America to take a greater role when it comes to upholding human rights in the Middle East. When we stay true to our own fundamental principles, that is when the United States has the most power in the Middle East. There's a lot more that can be done. And I think a lot of people are being proven wrong. Going back years, people said of Assad he was a reformer. People said that this was someone we could work with. Yeah. And now we see that he is the monster that the dissidents knew all along that he was.
Fuad, I want to ask you about what we saw in Beirut. Tremendously concerning that we see this ally of the U.S., an opponent of both Hezbollah and Assad, taken out. How concerned are you that violence is spreading across the Middle East?
Well, I think for Beirut and for the Lebanese, you have almost the horrific prospect of the return to the past. Car bombs, the assassination of prominent figures. And the truth is, any opponent of Syria in Lebanon, any major figure in Lebanese politics who opposes Syria is endangered. This Dr. Mohammed Shatah, former ambassador to Washington, a PhD from the University of Texas, a very decent and moderate man. Targeting him means that the Syrians are back in business, killing people in Lebanon, and the Syrians feel emboldened. They've been spared. Bashar al-Assad has been spared. Bashar al-Assad has been spared the wrath of the Obama administration, and he is now back to what he knows best, which is terror, assassinations, car bomb, and the like.
And it doesn't appear, Fuad, that that's going to change. So where does the U.S. go from here? What do you see really happening versus what you think should happen?
Well, Brianna, I think the U.S. has, in a way, for better or worse, we have to be honest about this, has taken time out from the Middle East. I think there is a kind of almost an admission on the part of the Obama administration that the troubles of the region are very huge. And the troubles of the region are huge because of the abdication of American policy towards Syria. It all begins and ends to a considerable extent in the Fertile Crescent. It all begins and ends with Bashar al-Assad. We spared Bashar al-Assad. American power spared him, and now he's on a rampage.
What do you think about that, David? I mean, obviously the foreign policy concentration of the Obama administration has been to turn away from the Middle East to Asia, but at every turn, you have the Middle East trying to grab that attention back. What does the U.S. need to do?
I think what Fuad said is spot on. And what you say is true as well. There's been a pivot to Asia, that's what they call it. And yet the Middle East keeps dragging the United States back into its tentacles. I think there are a number of things the United States can do to reclaim its moral clarity in the region. Number one, it has to support unabashedly and unreservedly true liberal democratic forces throughout the region. It has to cease its support for dictators throughout the region. It needs to speak up on behalf of those political prisoners denied freedom across the Middle East. They should begin bilateral meetings by raising the names of political prisoners, much as the United States did during the Soviet era. It can condition aid to human rights, much like the Jackson-Vanik Amendment did back in 1975. So instead of giving a blank check to these autocratic regimes, the United States can play a much more important role by not appeasing dictators throughout the Middle East, and by speaking clearly about how dangerous they are.
And let me ask the last question here of Fuad on that point. Fuad, is there really a way, how does the U.S. sort of find these liberal proponents of democracy? I mean, this has obviously been something that's very difficult for the U.S. government and its allies.
Well, I think David has it right. I mean, where do we begin, if you will? We begin now, because I think the past, if you will, has not been very encouraging. We stayed with Mubarak for 30 years or so. We have tended to be comfortable, and I think we have to be honest about this, with authoritarian regime. And again, as David said in reference to Bashar al-Assad, this is the man that our Secretary of State and our diplomats told us that this man was a reformer. We have to really begin to know the region as it is. And we have to turn to the Egyptians in particular, because we haven't really said enough about them. We have to return to the Egyptian regime now and make it very, very clear that the banning of the Muslim Brotherhood is no solution, because the dream of an Egypt without beards or veils is illusory.
Fuad Ajami, David Keyes, thanks to both of you for being with us in the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Now ahead, the star of the